Good evening, everyone. This is wolfspiritradio and the Earth Mind Think Tank group and Frank Jordan. And as usual, we don't know what to expect in these broadcasts. The Spirit has a way of coming in and leading us in certain directions. And so we just let it float. And certainly welcome anyone in the chat room to make requests for healing or comments that we can follow up on. And the Earth Mind Think Tank group will be participating more because most of these guys are growing to the point of where they could actually conduct their own shows should they choose to do so. The wisdom is accelerating quite rapidly, and we greatly appreciate that to get more than one view on topics that come up. But I'd like to report that, as you are well aware of now, the weather pattern we worked on a couple of weeks ago did establish themselves. This is what we requested, and we requested that the Pacific loop of the jet stream drop down lower and creates that Hawaiian Express, they call it, of moisture that's pushed directly up into our area, and it's sustained itself. It's been there now for about 10 days or so, and it continues to pump moisture up in the southern states, as well as energy moving into the Pacific Northwest. So we're having rain off and on through the entire area. And the best news is it's enough of it that's getting to the drought areas in Arizona and New Mexico also. So we're greatly appreciative of that. We're appreciative of the endemic forces of consciousness that responded to our request. And this is incredible the way this works, because we're not alone here in this world. We're just part of a whole ecosystem. And when we tune into that ecosystem and with our heart and our intent and our spiritual abilities, we focus on helping the ecosystem out. It also responds to us by helping us to create what we need. So as we give, so shall we receive, and it works. So the situation back east, where there's so much snow and such a difficult period right now, that was kind of overdue, and for the people back there to bring them closer together in community and to prompt the government agencies to do their job, which is taking care of the people rather than expecting the people just to take care of them. And so nature has its way of balancing things, and we're seeing some of that balance right now through the weather patterns, and the political patterns, and certainly the financial patterns. We're looking at great things here in the next few weeks in the financial world. The Republic is rising, and I don't like to talk too much about that because I'm not knowledgeable in that necessarily. I chose some time ago to let those who do have the knowledge and the wisdom to carry them forward, and I will energetically and spiritually and emotionally support them in their choices and what they do. But we do have the option of prompting them to our power and group mind consciousness, prompting them to understand what the principles of dominion are, so that as they create the new reality, the new republic, the new system, that it be done in love and peace and harmony, and without any kind of demonstrations or revolution. It is necessary because people have the power, and unified people with group mind consciousness and focused thought can create exactly what we want to manifest and what we want to bring into our reality by raising the consciousness of everyone. And we do that by thinking, living, believing in the dominion of things, all things possible. And dominion is not difficult to understand. It's like it said in the first pages of the Bible. And man shall have dominion over all things that crawl on the earth and fly in the air and grow in the fields and swim the seas. And that passage did not mean domination. But unfortunately, the consciousness rose to where we didn't live in harmony with our elementals and with the animals and the other creatures of the earth. We learned how to dominate it for personal power and control through domination. Well, that lesson has been well exercised for the last 25,000 years and can be released now. And through the release that was initiated at the end of the cycle, as recorded by the Mayans, we're moving into a new age now, and not a new world order. That concept was created by the dominators to think that we would be better off if we all lived under their rule and their power and their supposed greater intelligence and ability to govern everything. Well, that is just the opposition of what nature has empowered on this planet, because prior to the invasion of humans on Earth here, Earth was in dominion. It spent many millions of years cycling various creatures through as they evolved and cycled out. And an interesting thing happened to me one time. I realized that all those creatures who came before us are not really gone. Their living presence cycled on, but their spirits are still alive. Not necessarily alive, but functional in the standing waves of time and in the Akashic records of Earth Mind. And I've had fun toying with this, of thinking about some extinct animal consciousness and going into Earth Mind and focusing on it. And literally, you can project yourself into Earth Mind, into those frequencies that are held there, and become these creatures. And it's a delightful thing to do in learning that we are one with everything that ever occurred on Earth, and we will be part of everything that ever occurs in the future. More importantly, with our understanding of how things work and the flow of spiritual consciousness, the creative life force consciousness that is the God force, understanding how that works, we can become participants in creating our next reality. And that, again, is not to dominate it, but to allow it to evolve in a beautiful way where everything is nurtured and we all have a part in creating the fourth dimension. And I'd like to ask the members of the Earth Mind think tank, what would you like to see in the new age as far as how society works, and what can we do to help everything to live and survive and evolve? Any ideas?
I would love to see an automatic repugnance to war. Like the thoughts of war would just be absolutely out of the question for everyone in the future. Rather to be in peace is the obvious choice.
Well, that's the interesting thing. As I see into the future and see Dominion evolving, there are no borders. There's no territorialism. It simply doesn't exist. And if there are no borders, there should not be need for any wars. And there is no control. There's no domination. Everyone shares and empowers everyone else. If one area has a need, it simply asks the area if it can produce such a product, whether it be bananas or corn or sugar beets or pineapples or whatever. And the balance of trade, interactive trade, makes sure that everyone has abundance of whatever they desire and need. There will be a medium of exchange, of course, to keep things equal, but it won't be such a thing that where a pinnacle of power descends down and all the funds eventually rise up into the tower to the very top echelons of people like it is now, where 5% of the people in the world own 95% of every physical thing on Earth. We think we do, but we don't. Through the banks and the corporations and all the structures of domination that are out there, that will all be gone. And simply where there's need for a cooperative type, like a business structure, a corporation, where the corporations are now, that we'll still be able to produce all of the same things, but do it in a manner where the trade is lateral, the abundance goes laterally instead of vertically. Any ideas on that? Mike, you're a great thinker on the financial world. How could that work? Hello, Mike. He might not be with us at the moment. Any other ideas?
I would note, I see us living in the sacred heart space, kind of what Teresa was saying, where in that space there is no shadow at all, and we are connected with that oneness, and I feel that it's like we'll be connected to every living thing on this earth, the blade of grass to the tree, to each other's hearts, and it will be for the highest and best good for everyone, because we'll see that we're all interconnected. But I ultimately see it as living in that sacred space within the heart.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, this is Diane. I was going to say that I see it happening in a way of communities, small communities that are brought together by like minds. So you would find your particular area of attraction so that you could continue to learn and grow within the safety of a small community. And then once we get kind of feeling more in that group mind, then we can reach out to other groups that might bring in a little bit more variety, overlap, exchange of information, goods, products, technology, but starting out in the safety of our small groups that so many of us are doing already.
How would the educational system change? If you'll think about it, our educational system teaches us all to be laborers, to get educated, to find a slot in the corporation, to produce money for the corporation, of course, where the abundance, the excess abundance always passes upward, where everyone is working for someone above them, rather than working laterally in empowerment of everyone. I see the education system evolving in such a manner that where children are taught at a very early age to love each other, to not compete. You can have sports and things like that, fun things where you can get excited and your champions and whatnot, and expressing the very best of human potential in physical things or mental things, in science or in any other way. We always champion those who are leading us forward and giving their very best. And so I see a world where people are encouraged to compete in a manner that empowers everyone and not just themselves. So that's what I see in the educational system. There are no tiers in the educational system. They're just an educational process. Second thing I see in that regard is that every child will develop their psychic abilities very early, so that learning will be a thing of absorption rather than tedious study and downloading information that may not necessarily apply to how they choose to live life or what they choose to do in life. And I see schools that are focused on attracting anyone who's, well, say, for example, oceanography, something like that. Schools will just function to train anyone interested in that, and you don't necessarily have to know the world of financial or medical terms or anything else. They can simply choose and download what they want to know and how they want to apply it. But in the world of consciousness and intelligence, everything finds a balance if it's in harmony and in dominion. Nothing is ever wasted. That brings us to recycling and how the resources of the earth could be honorably and rightly used, so everyone takes what they need requirements so they can express their wants and needs, but not to excess and not to hoard, but to pass around and share if they get what they have in excess beyond their needs. Can you see how that could work?
What I would like to see is a world where people work together no matter what. That people have the freedoms that God gave us. That's what I would like to see. And all these crooked bastards were hung by their neck.
Well, our primitive ancestors had a way of doing that, sharing whatever the members of the tribe need, and when someone developed a particular skill, like the arrow makers, for example, could work stone, they didn't have to worry about going out and planting crops and things like that, or hunting with their tools. They simply supplied them to others who gave back to them what the craftsman needed. And this is the same way it could work in our society. How do you see a spiritual Congress working, or would there even be a Congress or a congregation? What would spirituality be in the fourth dimension?
If people realized that their church is actually in their hearts, what need would you have to go to a building and have someone tell you what the Bible means?
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Everybody would be taught how to go and sit in their heart, how to go outside and walk the earth with bare feet and feel the glory of nature and our connection with it that way. Of allowing.
It would be a move away from ownership into stewardship.
Well, that's a good thought, because we don't really own anything anyway. We just have the right to use whatever we've attracted or created. But rather than accumulating more than we need, if we're not using something, pass it on to someone else so that it doesn't go to waste. You can look at any garage in the United States or maybe around the world, and it's full of stuff that people don't need. It's even bought and used, and if that could be passed around, it eases stress considerably on the world resources. And go to any dump site, look what is thrown away rather than recycled. It's just astonishing when you see what occurs there. And at a very early age, talking about education, children should be taught conservation. Take only what you need or for your current requirements, and then give it back in some manner, give back to the earth. The Indians did this. They always give thanks to what the earth supplied, and it rarely ever took more than their needs. If it got more than their needs, they passed it around to everyone else. So there was no waste. And that way, the animals could always be in abundance and not killed out like the buffalo were. Ideas?
Well, I have a funny story about recycling. The very first time that I had heard about Frank Jordan coming to my lovely city in London, Ontario, I did not have the funds to take the workshop, and I was inspired to go, and I actually had that goal in mind and was dumpster diving all over our fair city for scrap metal, and was able to turn that resource into a currency, and it was the best journey I've ever been on. I ended up with enough metal to the scrapyard that I sold to the scrapyard. And I feel really excited that this metal is being used over again, and was happily able to participate in that workshop. So there's my recycling story, and how abundant, just having that thought in mind, our world really is, and how much it provides when we open our eyes and are able to see it. And for example, another thing I do, in the summertime, I'm lucky enough to have a huge backyard that's full of weeds, and I never mow it except for little pathways. And those areas that I don't mow is what I would consider my garden, where the wild weeds grow, and I know my herbs and wild herbs and plants, and I will often munch upon nettle, stinging nettle, for soups and teas, and dockweed it's like a wild spinach. There's so many plants out there, and there's such abundance. And once we kind of take our eyes away from the brainwashing of the convenience world of stores where everything is set out for us, we can see those things around us that are actually, Gaia has given us these amazing gifts. So it expands your way of knowing the world too. And you feel good about yourself knowing that you have, even with that one little salad that I had, I know that those leaves didn't travel 3,000 miles to get to my plate. I know that, they're gifts from the earth, and they're in an abundance. Walking the ditches in your own cities or in the countryside is a phenomenal storehouse in the summer here for food source. It's fantastic. I encourage it. Enjoy it. Yeah. So those are my stories.
Well, nature always had a way of supplying our primitive forefathers and mothers of the exact things that the herbs and the healing plants and things that our bodies would need to heal themselves. And that brings us to the world of medicine. How do you see medicine in that fourth dimension, or the caretaking of people?
Well, I see it as allowing everyone to have the opportunity to seek whatever modality of healing that they want. If they want to do traditional, medical treatments, that sort of thing, yes, but also allowing, the chiropractors, the herbalists, the acupuncturists, the healings that we do, whatever healing that person feels can help with the problem, that they be allowed to experience that. And the nurses no longer, and, aides have the time to spend with people instead of just doing the minimal, because we have so many people to take care of that they can spend time. The actual caregivers that, take care of the people that are that have diseases, illnesses, surgeries, allow them to not only treat the body, but the mind of each patient, of each client, without having to worry about how they're going to pay for it, how long they're going to be treated, whatever it takes to get them well, that they are afforded that opportunity. And get rid of the corporations, and also get rid of the problem where you have, if there is a mistake made by someone in the medical profession or health-related, people are people. They're human. They make mistakes. There's no reason for multi-million-dollar lawsuits over frivolous things. You know, so much of it is greed-based and driven that, you know, things happen.
There's an interesting concept evolving in the world right now amongst the right-thinking people, where the younger people pay it forward by taking care of the elders, and the people who start to decline in their productivity, then the young ones take care of them because they know that at some point in time there will be need for them to be cared for. So by paying it forward by service to others, it always comes back to you in the end when you need it. I think that's a beautiful concept.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what else can we see in Dominion? One thing I see is that there will be no need for policemen or for armies or anything of that nature, because no one will take advantage of anyone else. They simply can't, because we'll be so psychically attuned. If someone has a negative thought or a dominating thought, everyone will know it instantly. And if a person wants to fit in and belong to the clan and share the abundance of the clan, they will not even be prompted to steal things or take advantage of people or to dominate them. So that's going to eliminate a lot of stress right there of people looking to see how well and what they can do for others rather than what others can simply do for them.
Yeah, that's what I see. The third dimensional reality that we're currently living in is going to fall away. So some of these systems that are here now are not going to exist. And we're going to live, I feel, we're going to live in that sacred heart space where we are all interconnected, and we're going to want the overall good for everyone. So it's going to be, I just feel like it's going to be incredible. Like wherever you focus your intention, things will just become that. Like if you're hungry, sometimes the food can just appear. Or if there's certain needs, so it's really watching your thoughts also. But in the medicine, I see a lot having to do with frequency, sound healing and frequency, that if that's going to play out in many different aspects, I believe.
Oh, absolutely. What we do in our healing work is simply using the power of the mind to focus desired will and our attention on someone who has a need. And that's exactly what you're talking about. It's all done through frequencies and understanding how things work and learning to trust your intuition to generate for you, to guide you in what you need to do. And another thing I see evolving when I look into the future is that there will be technology, but it'll be technology of a type that empowers people and makes people's lives easier. For example, there won't be any need for power lines or power poles, because the world will have created units that can sit in each household and generate the power they need right from the air, the atmosphere, the environment. And of course, there'll be some productive need to create those machines, but they don't need to be large. It's already happening, and there'll be pollution-free. There will be no need for this vast oil industry that's polluting the country, polluting the atmosphere. And these little machines could also drive our automobiles and things of transport quite easily. And oil is such an invaluable commodity in itself, not for simply to produce gasoline to drive a inert mass of metal along, but for all the things that can be created from oil. Probably, I'd say 60 to 80% of everything we use in our lives now, it basically comes from oil as its base source of materials. And so oil won't be depleted. The supplies that are left by the time we get there, hopefully, will be utilized in the way they were originally designed to be used anyway, as a credible organic productive material. Mike, are you there now?
Something I can see in the future, if there are any folks out there who have ever been to a landfill site, it's, in my opinion, it'll be one of the most valuable pieces of real estate in the future, because it has so many natural resources in it. Like plastics, for example, are originally they start out as an oil, and then they're converted into plastics. Well, as it turns out, those plastics you can actually convert plastics back into oil with a very simple process. And those plastics, there should never ever be really plastics in a garbage, because they're so easily transferred back into other types of plastics. And you could probably look it up on YouTube, where a fellow from Japan has basically taken a little vessel and put plastic in it, closed it up, put it into a vacuum, heated it up above 400 degrees, and then distilled the liquid through water to cool it down, and then he had diesel fuel. So it can also be transferred back. It can be used as a fuel at that point. It's not ideal as a fuel because of the carbon that it produces, but it could definitely be turned back into that inert plastic mass again. So, ideally, and also the garbage island in the Pacific could definitely be used back into useful materials. So in reality, I'm talking to our Prime Minister, you don't need any oil fields anymore. Really. Go buy a garbage dump and access that and use that material. It would be wonderful. And we should use our brains better. That's how I see our future. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, along that line, the little city of Boise here has set up a small plant to utilize the gases that are coming off the garbage and as a source to generate power for the city. And it's quite economical, and it's quite resourceful and works. So it is recycled back, and what comes out of the garbage is cycled back into water and atmospheric things that do not affect the atmosphere, natural gases. I'd like to address the potential of everything we've been talking about here. We just touched on what the fourth dimension will be. I'd like to add a few more things to that. And one thing that we will have is very long lives. We can literally live as long as we want to because of not only the increase in medical technology, but our own capacity of healing ourselves and healing others. And we're doing right here with this radio program, working with the telomeres that shorten up every year of our lives. And telomeres are simply little, I call them antennas, that are attached to the genes and to which our energy antennas. That's the only way I can say it. They draw life force to feed into the cells of organisms, and that life force creates the energetic capacity for us to express and experience and enjoy life. But the problem is we're patterned in such a manner that they deteriorate, and as they deteriorate, And as we run out, in our old age, our bodies are not sustained by that life force. It comes directly from the energetic field of light around us. So the telomeres translate light and the resonance and frequencies into life force, vitality. Because every living thing that has a cell has telomeres. And those telomeres are what determines the length of life cycles, and the health of everything. And as you know, working within our own group here in our meditations, we've learned how to revitalize those telomeres, because the original telomeres are still there. The physical properties have dropped away, but the etheric properties are still there. The pattern is still there in the subtle energy system. And we're learning how, through the subtle energy systems, to re-energize those telomeres and bring life back into our forces, and literally euthaning. And I'm certainly a living example of that, because I've grown probably 50% of my hair back in the last year, and I was virtually bald. Those of you who knew me, I had early pattern male baldness. But it's not only in the roots of my hair that this is happening. My whole body's euthaning. I just feel better. And well, I'm 77 years old, and people in the classes and whatnot, I usually, when I'm talking about that, I ask them how old they think I am, and they usually say around between 50 and 55. And if I have any ego, it's centered right there, because I'm really proud of that. And I love teaching others how to do it. So that's just one of the things we've been learning in the last years. Well, I've been in direct contact with the galactic flow the last 30 years, progressively learning how to utilize things around us and life force capacities to generate more beneficial lives, not only for myself but for others. I've been practicing dominion and looking towards ultimate use of that is the reason we're creating our little community or society in a place very near here that has all the conditions to be a self-sustaining community. There's greenhouses there, there's hot water, there's the potential to generate power from waterfalls. There's timbers, it's in the timber country where there's plenty of lumber and everything we need for building and resources. It's low enough to where we can have fruit trees, beautiful fields where we can have animals and husbandry and things like that. And enough productive things to do. It could sustain 3,000 or 4,000 people there quite easily, just in like a 20,000 acre community. So we're looking forward to that. Hopefully we're going to be able to start generating that very shortly. And what I'm really looking forward to, though, is creating a school there, a school where people can come in and learn what we will be living. We'll literally be living in the fourth dimension there, and people will come observe what we're creating. And our school is set up to teach healers how to heal people, and we'll invite the world in. Anyone who has a problem that needs healing can come in and not only get their problems fixed and cured, but they can learn how to experience and express the dominion in the outer world. So it'll be like a recycling system. Actually, you want to call it that, where we bring in the wastes of the world and recycle them back into productive human beings out into society again. And the more I see of this, the more the potential, and the more I'm beginning to attract people to it. It's really a viable thing, and it is going to happen. It is happening right now. I don't know how long it'll take, but we can move fairly rapidly because the resources are there and are available. Okay, let's look at a closed community like that. Any more ideas that we could incorporate into that community that would be beneficial to the world? we could have a school for holistic health, for one thing, teaching people how to holistically live their lives and how to raise holistic products and crops and things of that nature. And I'd like to look at the family. What is there lacking in our families now in the world out here that we're missing to create dominion in the future?
I have a thought, and that is, I find that people are so focused and trapped in working, both parents in a lot of cases, outside of the home, just trying to make a wage, that they're disconnected with their children. And I think that really shows with kids, like key latch kids who come home from school alone, and so they're disconnected to their parents, from their parents, and the parents are so tired they're not connected with their kids. So without having to work, it opens time up. I mean, we see the comparisons when we hear interviews in far off lands, when children and women have to carry water, 3 hours a day, and we see it there where there's a disconnect between overwork for children and for adults, and there's no time to play, or there's just not enough food. So this way it would, the need for working for money would not be there. The need for work in terms of, I want to work because I want to share my skills and I want to eat fresh food, the focus is changed. So, you can be in a garden as an adult with a child and teach the child, and it compounds the value of what you're doing, because that child will learn those life lessons. See, the world that we're in now of convenience, again, there's such a disconnect, and with I remember talking to a little girl where a burger came from, and she didn't know. And she was about 6 years old, and my 4-year-old nephew told her it came from a cow, and she was in total horror. It was like, what are you talking about? It came from McDonald's, she said. And, so there'll be a reconnection, and that which is good for one must be good for all. It can't just be good for one.
And I see extended families where mentoring is so important by the elders. You pass the positive things that sustain life down through the levels of the family society, so that the lesson, the positive patterns are always there to keep society moving ahead and productive and revitalized all the time. When the mentors are put in a nursing home somewhere, and the parents are working, there's no one really to teach those kids what's necessary to maintain societies and to be good people.
I also see, Frank, like the work you do with clearing the way and all the family flow and all the ancestral line, all the traumas and abuses that so many people carry within the family, that if that can be cleared out so that it's more heart-based and these children are loved, and the parents are loved, it would just come from such an incredible space. I just think so many people are carrying so much traumas and abuses within their family systems that has to be cleared.
If you want to really see that in functional operation, go see August in Oklahoma, or whatever the name of that show is that Meryl Streep is in right now. it's just absolutely horrifying what this family does to each other. And by the end of the show, I wanted to get each one of them aside and counsel them and clear them of their crap so they could get along with a viable family. And because I see this constantly, the problems that are in our everyday societies out here, and every one of you that have had sessions with me understand about that, how you carry things forward in this living biocomputer that you are, and just keeps regenerating family patterns again and again and again, and relationship patterns, and negative things that are there. Actually, it's like we call personal karma, because until you learn the lesson and don't pass that along, or continue to you continue to revitalize that thing yourself, and it takes on a life of its own. Everything that is wrong with our societies are carried within us and expresses outward into the pool of consciousness that gathers those patterns up and makes a force out of it, negative as well as positive. And so it's an amazing thing to be able to study people intimately from the inside out rather than from the outside in, as psychiatrists do, and realize what we carry with us in negative patterns and programs that so simply can be cleared once you understand how things work. And that's really the focus of my whole reality, and what I want to accomplish in this school is teach people how to create their reality instead of being subjective to it. That's my byword. I can't say that enough. And most of you who are listening in their think tank group here, well, I know all of you have experienced that procedure with me, and you applied it to your own lives. And look how beautiful you are now. Every one of you are evolving and growing and becoming very helpful in the communities you live in, and certainly through the Wolf Spirit Radio community. We're creating an outreach program where we can be mentoring everyone, not just the children, but everyone. So that's part of the desire that we look forward to in the fourth dimension. That's exactly what will be done. We'll learn in grade school how to create our reality instead of being subjective to it. It all comes down to choice. I can't conceive how anyone in their right mind, or any mind at all, would make a wrong choice if the opportunity was there to make the right choice. Right choices always create an ongoing flow of positive growth and vitalization and evolution of consciousness. Wrong choice creates personal karma, which no matter how it acts out, it continually recycles again and again and again, just like an addiction, or no matter what the addiction is, it keeps recycling again and again and again until you learn to master the low self, the addictive qualities, whatever they are, and make the right choices to simply not do that. Smokers can quit smoking instantaneously by making the right choice not to do that. And what's interesting is the body of the low self is so addictive that to clear smoking, people with their smoking habits, what I do is go back in time with them to the point where they took that first cigarette. 99.9% of them don't even like the taste of the thing, that first cigarette. So we reject it back in the standing waves of time. And the subconscious is so very literal, it believes that. It believes it never started smoking. And we carry that pattern forward in the successive standing waves. And in the Akashic records, the Earth mind, we carry that forward to the present moment and on out into the future. And past, present, future all being the same, it just doesn't exist. And people can stop smoking instantaneously. It's a little more difficult with alcoholism and drugs because people are so addicted to that stuff that it can be done. It is done quite easily there also. So I think what are coming down here is the need to learn how to teach people at a very early age, children at a very early age, how to be psychic, how to feel their body, how to feel what the influences around them that are affecting us negatively, and teach people in the schools, children in the schools, to clear things before they can build up and become a habit or a negative program or a negative self-worth. Negative self-worth is one of the biggest things that deprogram out of people. And as you all know, it isn't a matter of me deprogramming it out of you. It's teaching you how to do it for yourselves. That's all of my work is directed to that, is teaching people how to clear themselves. And with clarity and understanding how you program those things, you can always make the right choice to not recreate them. And the beauty of it is, once you learn these programs and these techniques, they're so simple, it's unbelievable. I can't believe this hasn't been done for the last 5,000 years by intelligent people. But with the realization of how things work and the ability to feel that subtle energy that sustains all things, because it is subtle energy, that field of life force consciousness that underlies the physical consciousness. Once you learn how to access that through the subconscious mind, you can literally recreate it or manifest anything you want to in your systems. Well, okay, enough of my soapbox. We're getting close to our break here. Any more ideas or questions?
Well, I see, us being able to grow all our food organically, and the stock that we have, with the meat, have it all be in good, humane circumstances, no genetically engineered stuff. There are still, a lot of families that have farms that are losing their farms because they cannot sustain themselves and they get bought up. We're losing so much agricultural land to build apartments and other stuff. Where we have the land, and the people that love dealing with the earth and being farmers, raising stock, having orchards, being able to have that and have a sustainable lifestyle instead of having to eke it by because of the overhead.
Mm-hmm. Well, everything that's worth doing, there always has to be a point of beginning. And this discussion we're having, this group of people we pull together, and the fact that we have listeners out there, is a point of beginning. And so every listener now that's out in the radio audience or who listens to this program later, realize that you are a point of beginning. You are the initial change that needs to be done to literally recreate this world and to raise the consciousness of the world. So it all begins with us, each one individually, one at a time, sharing our knowledge, our ideas, and learning how to clear. The most positive thing we can possibly do is clearing. I see David is on now, and I had a session with him this week. And David was relatively cluttered up, even though if I can share this, David, was a hypnotherapist and delved deeply into people's minds. He wanted to know how to do it better, because he knew he really wasn't doing a complete job. So in working with David a few sessions and teaching him how this works, and we sent him a copy of the chakra clearing CDs meditation. And I was just delighted when I read David again, and he had, on his own, not just what I pointed out that he could clear. When I went into his upper high self, actually this area above his heart chakra, the high self, he was incredibly clear. We just touched a few things and then went on into his low self and continued our work there. And I was just delighted because this technique worked so well. And when the first time I went into David, it was like walking into a swamp. And he had no idea, except that his life was a constant struggle for production and to get along out here in this physical world. Clearing is absolutely vital. Clearing it and getting it out of your system before it gets locked into some kind of a hardened pattern that's more difficult to too clear, because those patterns are what rules your lives, and we have not a clue. But so, Dave, we're up to our break time. Let's take a few minutes and come back, and we'll do some healing work.
That sounds wonderful. I have a break queued, and we'll be right back, folks. Don't go away. This is Dave from the Wolf's Den Studios saying welcome to Wolf Spirit Radio. Wolf Spirit Radio is totally listener-supported by folks like you who choose to help us stay on the air and grow.
This is Wolf Spirit Radio.
Okay, we're back again, and we'll do some healing work very shortly here, but it's one thing for me to talk about these procedures and how effective they are, but it's something else again if you talk to someone who has experienced it. David, would you mind sharing a little bit what the growth you've made in the last 3 weeks or months we've been together? Hello, David. Maybe he's not on. His wolf is. Mike, how about you? Can you share with us?
I'm here. Sure I can. Well, it's been 2.5, 3 years since I met Frank. and I came from I had no background in any of the I just had no background in meditation or any subtle energy or anything, and I came into the group, and I immediately, very quickly, struck me that I had a sense of well-being, and was able to clear out and solve a whole bunch of things that I had viewed as major problems. I found that meditation had a striking effect on me, and that particularly in the live group settings, I would get into really kind of deep states of trance, and so it's been completely life changing for me. Without rambling on for too long, but I made a special effort, and I've gone twice up to Idaho to spend time personally with Frank, and also on one occasion there were 3 other people, and we all went on a kind of about a 3-day retreat with Frank, and I think that experience to be able to interact with other people who were farther along the process than I was, who were very talented people who had some special abilities and expertise that gave me some kind of targets and to aspire to. It's been absolutely incredible. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I basically, I think the number of times that I've missed a group meditation in the last, 2.5, 3 years is you can count on one hand. So I think it's one of the most important elements of my life at this time, and I find the group participants to be some of the most interesting, heartwarming, enlightened people that I always learn something. I value the feedback, and it's incredibly valuable, important to me. So there you are.
Well, thank you. David, are you?
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay.
Could you share with us a little bit what you experienced in the last 3 weeks or months we've been together?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think if I look at the complete summation of what we've been doing so far, there's one thing that comes really into clear focus, and it is the power of free will and our personal sovereignty in the process of taking responsibility for doing this work for ourselves. And the tools are so pragmatic, so simple, and yet so powerful that anyone really could do them. And I don't think that Frank has oversold it in any way. It is a very simple process. If you can commit to the process of the short meditations and understanding what's going on, they are extraordinary. And it's also been helpful in myself to understand the breadth of the opposition forces that are in play to keep us from the ascension process, which is our absolute birthright. So those 3 elements of understanding the pragmatic parts of the tools, owning our personal sovereignty fully, and being aware of the forces that are seeking to keep us from that sovereignty, I think is a nice 3-sided piece of what we've accomplished in that period, Frank.
Well, I think you're a living expression of how far people can progress in a short period of time. And our time together, I doubt if we spent over 6 or 8 hours.
Yeah,
total. But it's not like a psychiatrist to sit there and listen to you talk for a year and nothing changed.
Yeah, and then it's meditation.
Did we listen?
I agree.
Okay, good. Well, I think we could get a lot of testimony, but that's not what's important. What's important is for people to realize it's here and available for you, not only just from listening to us on these weekly programs, but by going back to to the archives. We have probably over 150 archives by now. And the Sunday night shows, as when we began, it was the Tuesday night shows, are the ones where we have the deep discussions, and we bring information through that you can apply directly to yourself and techniques. Guys, we work with crystals and clearing and meditation and about everything else, accumulate the tools that we all need to accelerate our consciousness growth. So it's available there through Wolf Spirit Radio. Also, it's available through my website, Psitronics.com. That's PSI-TRONICS.com. And that means mind power. And literally what we do is empower you to become your own teacher, your own guru, your own doctor, your own healer, and all of that. So with that in mind, we have a wonderful group Mind Consciousness here, healers in the group that can participate in healing out there in the radio audience. And I made a wonderful discovery the first time I was ever on. I was invited to talk on Dave's talk show with another person, and that I talked about healing because that's about all I know to talk about. And the co-host asked me if I could heal Dave Cuso's knees. Being an old paratrooper, he really damaged his knees over the years. And you know, Dave, maybe you should talk about that. What's happened with your knees? Are you with us? Hello, Dave. Well, long story short, in about 10 minutes or so, we healed both of his knees, and it's where he could, that's been almost 2 years, and he can walk down without pain and be functional again. But more importantly, before the show was over, people were calling in saying that while we were doing that, they received a healing also out in radio audience. And that's the way this works, is with your focus and attention and feeling the energy flows that come through us, the healing energies, the galactic force, which focuses unconditional love through all of us. And in the group mind consciousness that we're participating in, we can access anyone, anywhere, and all that is required is your attention to it. And this is done with no expectation of return other than the thanks you can give, or perhaps a donation should you choose to share through Wolf Spirit Radio. But it's remarkable what this does and how easy it is to do. And so what we ask for is simply, preferably your name, first name at least, where you're at, where you're located. And through that, I can pick you up, and the group can pick you up. And we focus our attention, our group mind conscious on you, and some remarkable healings have occurred. And we also try to do the clearing of the mental emotional problem that created the situation. And so it's a complete healing. It's not just a part of a healing. And so with that said...
Frank, I'm going to add something in on what you're saying. There's a saying that love heals all wounds. And this is what it's all about, is this love energy, this galactic energy, this flow of healing. And that starts with the love in your heart. And if people are unsure of how to access and so forth, just go sit in the love of your heart. Think of something that you love unconditionally, and then just let it go. Let it go and be. Thank you.
Okay. We have a request from Mrs. Kodo. Please send love and healing to my brother Anthony Mark Russo. Lives in a suburb of Chicago. He's in his late 40s and was in a big car accident when he was a teenager where he was injured and epilepsy as a result. He doesn't speak to me but would like to help him clear any bad feelings or injuries and see him happy and healthy. Thank you for all you do. Okay, in long-term illnesses or injuries of that nature where there's been mechanical injuries that interfere with the neural system and the ability to self-heal. What we do is tune into them and ask you all now to just take your awareness back to the back of your head and open up and feel the flow of the galactic energy flowing through us. And this is a concentrated, directed energy of the energy fields that exist all about us. We're talking about the subtle energy field now. And what we do is, with the intent to heal Anthony Mark Russell in a suburb of Chicago, we just step back in our heads in the manner we've learned in the meditation process of taking your awareness in your forehead, move right straight back into your soul center. And this is where you pick up a lot of your natural intuitive ability to do healing work and direct energies. And it comes from your soul, from past lives where you've done this before. And then move right straight back to the psychic center. Someone's clanking. Please quit clanking, please. Turn your mics off. Move your awareness right straight back into the psychic center now and extend laterally. And that's literally one level of what we're extending to Mark. Then step on back a little deeper, and you'll feel yourself expand and you're in the subconscious mind there. You're in the subtle energy system of organized consciousness that deals with the focuses and the power that holds everything in form. And when you feel that expanding process, take your awareness down the spine to the heart and just touch into the indwelling spirit. There's just a bit of the God Force consciousness in your heart that holds all things in form and manifests it through the 0 point, it's called, where the standing waves of everything that comes forward in this moment of now collapses, and then is regenerated in the next standing wave in the future. Well, in that moment of collapse is where we inject desire and will and intent to recreate the standing waves into the form that we require for healing or any manifestation or demanifestation. Now extend your awareness on down the spine to the root chakra and down into earth mind. And just touch into earth mind. This is the Akashic records where everything is held in the crust of the earth, in the silicon dioxide of earth. Everything that ever happened to you, including that accident of Mark's, is there. So the reason going to earth mind is to pick up the memory held in earth mind that just keeps constantly sending up through the low self, through the 0 point, up into the upper self, the shock and trauma of that accident. Now, Mark, we're going to take you back in time to when the accident occurred, and I don't want you to experience the accident itself. I want you to clear any fear and shock and trauma from your system that occurred at that time, including being in the hospital and everything that happened to you coming forward from that. Just release those patterns out of your body. And the way this works is when you put your mind on something, the frontal lobe of your brain, the brain is so it can only hold one thing at a time. So when you're thinking about that accident, just like we all are now, you can feel in your body where that shock and trauma and the injury is stored. And so you push it right straight out forward, just like dragging it to trash from your biocomputer. Push it right straight forward, just release it. It helps to create a spinning torus just to suck it out of your body. Now, by clearing the mental, emotional cause of the trauma, of the injury you sustained, it allows the body to heal itself. But we're going to take this one step further, Mark, since you do have a problem in your brain that causes the epilepsy. It's a brain injury. We're going to reach up through your crown chakra to oversoul, reach up to the male principle, and just tap in there. It'll be like a light begins to shine in the top of your head. Pull that energy down through your body to the 0 point in the heart, and just hold it there. While you reach down deeper, go down out the root chakra again into earth mind, the female polarity, because it is the pattern that's created in your life is what holds your illness. So you have the male polarity and the female polarity that holds the form of that reality. Now we're going to change that reality, Mark, and we're going to do it by going back just a few minutes ahead of the accident, and whatever choices were made by you or someone else created that accident, we're going to change them. Back in that point in time, either you or the person who was driving, change the awareness now, shift to the right, and create a new parallel reality where that accident does not occur. Not in your reality. It may occur in a parallel. We're going to let that reality go. And you're going to feel yourself in the perfect and normal condition. And we're healing you back in time and bringing you forward through all standing waves, all those years to now, into the 0 point, where we're going to use the collapse of the standing waves to create a reality for you where that accident, the trauma, does not exist. So what I want you to do is see yourself in the pure and perfect condition. And we'll bring energy from the galactic flow to heal your body and your mind through the power of the Christ within us. We see Mark in the perfect and normal condition. There is no epilepsy in this reality we're creating. As he shifts to the right into the positive reality, lets the old reality fall away and bring him forward. We feel this happening in his brain right now through attunement. Through the power that Christ is in his Mike's body is throwing away, throwing off all memory, all shock, all trauma, all negative experiences from that point of inception, and creating a beautiful, wonderful reality for himself, where all things are possible, and where he is healed. Not only healed, he doesn't need healing in this reality because he's perfect. Bring that forward now, and you feel your body, the chemistry of your body, the arrangement of the neurons, the function in your body shifting and changing. And we're feeling that actually several places in the bottom of your head and up also in the point of the brain that causes, allows you to use your muscles. We're clearing that scar tissue there. It does not exist. And then, Mark, I want you to look into the future and see yourself totally normal. Through the power of the Christ within us, this brain is adjusted and cleared. There is no mental emotional cause for fear or that creates the epilepsy. The epilepsy is cleared. The neurons are cleared. The scar tissue are cleared. Through the power of the Christ within us, we see Mark in the perfect and normal condition. And Mark, once you've experienced this, you can use it not only on yourself, this simple little technique of manifesting your reality instead of being subjective to it. And what's so beautiful about this is quite often people who experience these healings and learn the steps can become healers themselves, because you feel the energy pouring down through you and out your hands, and everyone out in the listening audience is feeling your hands hot right now. That is remain focused on Mark into his future, creating a beautiful future for him. You can do this to heal others and to heal yourself. Through the power of the Christ within us, we see Mark in the perfect and normal condition, and we release him to his highest and best good, and so it is. Okay. Not only did Mark get a wonderful healing there, but everyone listening did that has any kind of neuronic problems. I think the proper word is neural problems, but I still feel a lot of people out there pulling energy through us now, so we'll continue this for a moment. And this applies to people who've had strokes also. This is a wonderful healing technique to clear strokes. Literally recreating the neural tissue. So we're reaching out now into the listening audience, healing people who had neural difficulties. Just take a deep breath and draw in life force energy. Direct it to where you need it and feel and the nerves adjusting, healing and clearing through the power of the Christ within us. We send this resonance to everyone who is listening and everyone who listens to this recording in the future. Now, someone like Mark, who was hurt when he was a teenager, also needs to recreate a life for himself. And you can do this by imagining what your life would have been if you had not sustained that accident. And you imagine and think about it, just as though it was a living form, and download that into your subconscious mind. The subconscious is very literal. And you can literally recreate a life for yourself in this manner, and going through the 0 point and on into the future. Okay, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to do this. You simply have to have a feel for the subtle energy systems and understand how it works. All right, let's move on to our next. Diane Vieira, hearing request for Lisa Marie Bass in Southern California. Family history of mental illness, feeling much confusion and emotionally overwhelmed due to her struggle between her opening intuition, spirituality, and the family drama that's trying to convince her that she's crazy. Thanks, Frank. She'll be coming to see me for healing work, but needs some clearing from the family flow. All right. I love these things of where people open up and don't have a background or anyone to talk to that you can communicate with, because they're so alien to anything you've experienced prior that you do think there's something wrong with you. The Kundalini flows are a good example of this. They're highly beneficial for opening and developing your psychic channels. But you go to a doctor and he'll give you some kind of a drug to suppress them. That's absolutely the worst thing you could do. So, Lisa Marie Vath, if you happen to be listening, we're all gathering about you now in our family of consciousness in the Wolf Spirit Radio family. And we understand what you're going through. And so you can communicate with us. You can work with Diane, and she'll certainly educate you quickly on understanding these things, these changes you're experiencing, what some people might think is illusion might be clairvoyance developing. Sounds may be coming in auditorially that are weird, but it's simply the developing auditory systems in your psychic centers. So every physical feeling or emotion or ability that we have has a counterpart in the subtle energy system. So as you learn to rely on the subtle energy system, it gives you access to the whole world outside of your body and way beyond your physical capacity. So I'm tuning into Lisa Marie right now and feeling her wonderful potential. And I'm going to help her to just settle in and become at peace with yourself and love yourself. And learn to listen. When these weird things are happening, don't go into it from your mental mind, because nothing you've learned will teach you how to deal with this. You in your inner knowing, and learn to trust that inner knowing, the subtle energy system, and learn to listen. Listening. It's like a state of listening intently, because this shuts off those frontal lobes that are so active. It also shuts off the family's confusion and their concern for you because they think you're crazy. But listening is going within and feeling. It's all done with feeling. Just get this sensation now of listening within. And everyone out there who desires to develop their psychic ability, you can do this with us. Just step back through that channel, the psychic channel, through the third eye, through the soul, through the psychic center, back into the subconscious mind. Because what you're learning to do is listen to your chakra system. The chakra system, which is in resonance with everything out there. You maybe have seen Trillian photography where little rays of energy reach out from all over the surface of the body. Each one of those are connected into a field somewhere that can bring information to you if you listen to it. So put your point of attention on something you want to know out there, or someone that's trying to contact you, or maybe even just an inner feeling of something about your body, and listen. And as you're listening, that information will rise up into your mind, and you don't try to figure it out with the frontal lobes of your mind. That's A plus B equals C, rational reasoning. You listen to it with your inner mind, which is just A, B, C. It simply knows. And that knowing will prompt a feeling, a focus of attention. And so you just listen without pushing at it. Don't make it happen. Just let it happen. And as you listen, more channels will open up, and you can follow these channels out. It's almost like scanning as those portals open up, and more information comes. And it rises up into your conscious reasoning mind as inner knowing. And you simply know how this works or what's happening to you. And that inner knowing allows you to become master of your reality instead of being subjective to it. I feel you intently listening now. I feel hundreds, maybe thousands of you intently listening in that step-back state. You can feel it within myself and with the other members of the Earth Mind Think Tank group. There's absolutely nothing passing through the frontal lobes of your brain at this time. You're waiting, you're listening, you're downloading information from all those vibraports, I call them, that are little portals of energy attunement into other things. If you want to practice that, think about one of your friends somewhere with your frontal lobes of your brain. Just put your point of attention with your frontal lobes on it, on that person, and then holding that point of attention, listen. You might get psychic intuitive hits about where that person is, what they're doing, even down to what they're thinking, what they're experiencing, particularly if there's any energy involved in it, like emotion or something. Now, not only can you do it in this moment of now, but you can drop this listening down into Earth Mind, and go back in the standing waves of the past at any time in your life or of anyone else's, because everything that ever happened to anyone or any living thing with DNA is patterned into the surface of the earth in the silicon dioxide, it's 3% silicon dioxide in the crust of the earth, and it's like a gigantic computer that holds everything that's ever happened. I've had the experience of going all the way back from millions of years back in time and experiencing through psychometry what it felt like to be a dinosaur. Not only that, but you can access intuitively virtually any information that's out there. When you're in class, if you simply step back into the state and focus on your teacher, not just on what she's saying auditorily, but what she's thinking and feeling as she's resonating information to you, you can bring it right in through your third eye and through your subtle energy system, the vibraports, and download it into your body, into your chakra system. Absolutely everything she's talking about or demonstrating on the board or that you read in a book can be downloaded, and you'll have absolute full access to that through your memory system. This is what geniuses do, and that's the only thing they do that's different from what we do. They have open information channels to associate with what they already know. And after you listen for a while, and if you're reading or something and get the information's held in your frontal lobes of your brain, you take your point of attention to the frontal lobes and feel that energy, and you can feel it right now building up in your frontal lobes as you try to remember everything I've said. Just pull that energy down to the base of the brain, let it flow down the spine, into the subconscious mind, into the hard disk of your biocomputer, and now you know it, and you will never forget it. And when you need information, you simply put your point of attention on what you need in the step-back state, and it'll rise up out of your hard disk. It's like a computer, your living computers, back onto the frontal lobes, which is the desktop of your biocomputer. So not only have you cleared your brain now, you gained a lot of knowledge, and this information is all in my Clearing the Way to Higher Consciousness book, which you can get through my website, Cytronics.com. Also, you can get the meditation that I mentioned earlier when I was talking about David earlier. You can get the meditation, the chakra clearing meditation gives you clarity, cleans the clutter out of your system, out of your computer. So when these subtle hints come in, they'll be there and available to you. Okay. Let's go to Curtis Laborde. Curtis Laborde, 22 years old, London, Ontario. Wishes to be cleared of bipolar pattern. All right, interesting. Bipolar is fascinating. And this usually happens at an early age, and it can be a genetic predisposition also. This kind of thing, Teresa, you better work with one-on-one if possible. And you can clear these bipolar patterns. You have to go back to a very early age to do it. In fact, often back into intrauterine in case the parents are bipolar, one or both of them. And that's the place to do it. We can go directly now. Let's try it out. Curtis Laborde, London, Ontario. Now, first thing we have to do is clear Curtis, and always clear anyone you go into of negative entities which may have gotten into his system because of his bipolarism, and they cause him more trouble than anything else. Does he have? Yeah, he has entities. Now, use a dowsing tool to determine that. Okay, first of all, we stay outside of Curtis, and we send a flow of energy to him through the power of the Christ within us. We command these entities to release, go to your own proper right and proper place, go back to your source, quit using. You do not have permission to use Kurt's energy or to live vicariously through him. Release and go back through the light. Go into the light, the portal we've created to take you back to your own proper place. Now, I'm dowsing as I say this, and there's something about a dowsing tool movement that really empowers us. It's almost like creating a torus or a vortex for this stuff to go into. Okay, now we go back in time, clear Curtis Laborde all the way back in time to his youth, when the bipolar Saturn was set up. Okay, now we ask the question, is it safe? Yeah. Now we simply follow Curtis back in time, get into his live stream flow, following back in time in the Kasich records. It's stored in Earth Mind, to wherever he was as a child, to wherever he's conceived. And in that moment of conception, we're going to will the pure and perfect state. Through the power of Christ within us, we see the exchange of genes in the very moment of conception. We see the release and correction of the genes that cause the bipolar situation. Down in the genetic level, that's the exact moment to clear this, any kind of a genetic disorder. Through the power of the Christ, as we see Curtis' system being generated and set up in the pure and perfect condition to the highest and best good of his eventual life. And we see the fetus begin to form and mature, every cell in his body free of bipolar influences, right on up into the moment of birth, when the indwelling soul came in. And indwelling soul, you can make adjustments too. So we empower the indwelling soul to make adjustments in the moment of Curtis's birth, and we bring him forward in the perfect and normal condition, right up through, and we see him coming through life, creating a parallel reality without the condition, as we bring Curtis forward into the moment of now, and release the standing waves of the past, where his bipolar condition existed, into the moment of now, where with desire and will and choice, we further manifest the pure and perfect condition in Kurt, and we project that into his future. With the power of the Christ within us, Kurt, if you're listening, go ahead and create your future reality now. What you want to be and do, knowing you can do it without the influence of the bipolar situation. See, your brain is cleared and adjusted, so that you pass the energies quickly and easily through both hemispheres of the brain, to the corpus luteum, the base of the brain bridge. And so it is. Okay. Healing request for Tammy Butler, Northern Ontario, red soreness in her left armpit. Okay, Tammy Butler. Whoa, release Kurt. Release Kurt. Okay. Tammy Butler, red soreness in her left armpit. All right, Tammy, please raise your left arm, and we're putting our right hand under your armpit and our left hand on your other shoulder to maintain polarity between your left and right side. We take you back in time to when this condition began to occur. And reach up into oversoul above your head and take you back in time to when you were in the pure and perfect condition. We bring that forward in the standing ways, and through the power of the Christ within us, we see the past condition when you were perfect reoccurring now in the standing waves, in the 0 point, and passing forward into the future. You feel the tingling from our hands. The condition does not exist. And we close the portal, and so it is. Okay, next from Diane, a healing request for Dave Richter in at Scaro, California. Physical exhaustion, feels like depleted adrenals. To Diane, rundown of energy. Let's have some of our group share these healings. Rich, would you like to do this one? How would you do this? Hello, Rich. In Hawaii. He gets so far out, and it's hard to catch him. Catherine, you're a wonderful healer. Carry this forward for us.
My mind is preoccupied with Dave and his nephew. So my mind's not on the California Dave.
Frank, why don't we skip ahead then and work with David Corso's situation right now?
With what?
Maybe you can work with David. He's had a trauma right now with his family.
All right.
If you read down a little bit further, we can come back to my Dave later.
Oh, pardon me.
It just came up as an emergency, so we could skip ahead.
Dave, of course, let's see, how far down is it? Oh, his nephew and his son, who has a serious accident in California. Nephew's in serious condition with his son dead in the hospital. Okay, yeah, all right. All right, Dave, put your attention on your nephew and his son.
That we could send to the whole entire family out there a feeling
all right, Dave,
of peace.
You know the family intimately. You lead the healing, and we'll direct the energy through you.
Creator, Mother, and Father, through the power in each of us, we ask that you would send a comforting and healing blessing to Jim and Ann, the whole family, and to Russ, that they might understand it, why Seth was taken in this way. And we ask that you would send a healing blessing also to Russ, that his injuries may heal quickly. And this we say and we send to the power of Christ. I'm sorry, Frank, I don't have it in me to talk right now.
To the power of the Christ within us. We wrap the nephew to Dave in the healing energy to accelerate his healing and to clear the shock. The first thing they do is clear the shock and the trauma of the accident and the loss of his son. We also clear the nephew of any guilt. There's tremendous guilt in his throat right now associated with this accident. Release that, let it go. Open his heart to his son. The son has not made transition yet. In a shock of this nature, he's still there, and I want to talk to the son now. Please look at the family and come into awareness that it's time for you to leave and to transcend, release your body, and through your indwelling soul, release the stress of the accident and the shock and the trauma, so it not hold you in limbo. We're calling some angels now to come assist you through the right and honorable passage to your afterlife. Through the power of the Christ within us, we do the books of the dead, release you into the light, and no time and space. Once you're accustomed to where you will be, you can always send your point of attention back to the family and comfort them and share in their growth and pursuit of happiness. And the nephew, we wrap you in the awareness and comfort of Christ, and the knowing, the sure and perfect knowing that your son is in his right and perfect place, well cared for, and he has made transition. An interesting aspect of this, that even though the son has made transition, he can be back and placed and present for the funeral and the comfort of the family and all of that, but he will be doing it in a loving, comforting way to help the family through this moment of a period of time of grief. And so it is. We release. Okay. Sorry about that, Dave.
Well, thank you, Frank. I appreciate everything that you've done. And, wow. This is an experience for me that I hadn't planned on.
Dave, we all must step up to the plate at times to use the personal power that we're blessed with in situations that incapacitate others. But you, through your personal power, can do amazing things for everyone.
Thank you.
All right, back to Diane. Diane, once again, you know the situation with Dave Richter. You know, can sense what his situation is, so through you, direct your energy and let this be an opportunity for you to exercise your power of healing, and we'll help you. Feel the flow come into your hands now and direct it to Dave Richter. Go ahead and lead the...
Okay. Well, if we could all just see Dave in front of us and to clear any thoughts in his mind that he may be having serious health issues. I feel he has some concerns because he continues to feel run down and is susceptible. His immune system is not great right now. And if we could see ourselves putting our hands around him, the one hand on the front, one hand on the back of his chest. I have crystals in my hands right now that I'm doing that. In his high heart, his thyroid, thymus, and up into, I feel his throat as well, to try and clear some of the dross that seems to be heavy there, and to work with the adrenal system to clear, to flush, and to allow nutrients, to allow him to feel the urge to eat food with better nutrition. I think he's depleting a lot of his nutrients. And we can just hold that energy on him now and see that clearing, pushing through the front of his chest out. And in its place to bring in healing energy.
And so it is.
Thank you.
You know, we're going to open some energy portals to him too. When the life force weakens because of physical stress in the body and in the system he's operating or experiencing, it sends signals to the low self, which literally draws energy from Earth to sustain the life force of the physical body. And will draw energy also from Oversoul that holds the pure and perfect pattern of what our physical body should be. And we're going you successfully cleared the mental emotional cause, so now we're opening the channels to where he can re-manifest the physical, mental, emotional systems in his body so that he feels vitalized and has a reason for living. It's when we're not looking forward and creating a future reality that people get depleted and run down like this. Or from, in his case, churning endlessly in problems that he can't seem to solve in a situation that's frustrating to him and he wants out of. So this is a signal to low self. Well, let go now and we'll escape this lifetime and come back in a better lifetime. But that's not necessary. What we've just done can clear the mental emotional cause of virtually any illness. So we release him, see all of the hemispheres of his three-dimensional reality, all vitalized and strengthening, supplying the energy he needs for his system to the power that Christ within us. We impart into Dave the pure and intuitive knowledge that he does have a good life to live and can create it and can do it now. And so it is. Whoa, that was interesting. It's almost like doing an intervention for somebody, you know. Hey, you're not going to die. Wake up and come back alive.
That was good. Thank you.
Okay, looking down through here. Colbjorn, did we do him?
No, we have not.
Where is that one? Trying to find it. Oh, this Dave also. Colbjorn Borseth. Colbjorn Borseth. He's very ill in Aberdeen Royal Infirmary in Scotland. Dave, do you have any idea what his situation is?
That's JP's friend.
it came through Dave Corso.
Right, because JP couldn't be on. We worked on him once before about a month ago.
Oh, did he? Okay. Well, then let's just reinstate the flows. Kolbjorn Borset. Go back in time, reconnect. Okay, when they tune in, we have this feeling that he's almost given up on life, that he's afraid of death, but he's focusing on the fear of death rather than the joy of life. So we wrap him in a light, fill his aura with the light, and pattern that aura for the desire to live and be fruitful, and to look forward into the future and create a reality that he can enjoy and is beneficial to him, to himself and his family. We let this healing energy flow into his entire system, into the 6 hemispheres of his 3-dimensional reality, energizing, stimulating his system to pull in life force to overcome and defeat the situation. Through the power of the Christ within us, we see Kolbjorn in the perfect and normal condition. When they do healings on people like this, if they don't immediately respond and totally come out of it, it could require follow-up work. So remember that as another good way of doing that is to set up points in time in their future where these energies will automatically be replenished and come back into their system, even though we don't have our personal attention on it. We have our intent in it, and our intent can be patterned into the future very regularly to reassemble the energies necessary for the healing, and program each step of the energy healing in the future to be at a higher level so that he can grow into the perfect and natural condition. Oh, thank you, Stephen. We didn't know that. So we're doing that now. We're seeing his future and standing waves of his now, dropping the standing waves of the past illness. And in this moment of now, we're creating this future reality in the 0 point where he will continually progress and come back into the pure and natural condition in the future at very set intervals, patterning this healings. And he will, I would greatly appreciate if someone who knows Kolbjorn would report on us, on his situation. I suspect that JP might know him. Ooh, so it is. I felt a lot of energy there going into this future. So I'd like to know how that works.
All right, Frank, we have to wrap it up.
Oh, gosh, time goes so fast when you're having fun.
Tell me about it.
Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to next time. Don't forget to be with us if you can on Saturday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, where we'll do earth healing work and we'll do a lot of other interesting things, too. There's always information that comes in every one of these calls that can be useful to you. Thank you, everyone. Good night now. We love you.